India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has secured a second five-year term in the country's historic general election. More than 600 million people voted in the six-week-long process, making it the largest election ever held in the world. Modi's party has also won a majority in the country's parliament. This election was seen as a referendum on Modi, who's a Hindu nationalist. His party has been accused of stoking religious divisions. In his victory speech, he encouraged unity, saying that even if the government is built with a majority, the country runs with everyone together. We will walk with everyone together. Tim Romer is a former U.S. ambassador to India. He joins me now from Washington. So, Ambassador Romer, why do you think it is that Indians re-elected Modi with such a huge margin? And do you think he delivered voters what they wanted, or was it more for his polarizing politics?
Well, first of all, Raina, good to be with you. And I would just say about the election itself, it's amazing to hear the words, the biggest election in the history of the world. Here is a democracy with a 67% turnout and women voting, 420 million women voting, 15 to 16 million 18 and 19-year-old first-time voters voting. When the Russians and others are attacking democracy around the world, it is great and inspiring to see a country like India be able to pull off a six-week election with a 67% turnout. Mr. Modi, I think, won for a couple reasons. One, he made this an election about him, up or down. And he is a domineering, commanding personality in Indian politics. And the other party, the Congress party, is not very strong. In fact, some say it's its weakest point in decades. So he had the kind of election he wanted. And now we'll see what he can do for the next 5 years. What
do you think he should do for the next 5 years?
Well, I think what the Indian people want him to do is, one, create jobs. He has to create 1 million jobs per month to keep unemployment from rising and going up. Two, he has to make sure the farming community is treated fairly, and you know, they're not crippled by you know, trade issues or economic issues. Three, I think he will be looking at trying to increase Indian efficiency. Whether that's reforms in the economy, infrastructure investments. And then lastly, Rena, I think he's going to be looking at foreign policy. China is increasingly a threat to India, just as it is to the United States. How does he balance that? He's been to China many times. How does he improve U.S.-India relations, which are kind of on autopilot right now and need more attention? And then finally, what does he do about the neighborhood and Pakistan? And does he re-engage with Pakistan at some point after the problems in Kashmir over the last couple months that we've talked about? We'll see, but that should be a priority for him as well, that foreign policy basket.
Yes, and I want to ask you also about sort of Modi's campaigning style, his approach to politics. When you look at President Trump's approach and Modi's approach, are there any similarities?
Well, they're both populists and nationalists. They both talk about making their countries strong and great again. They both appeal to that national spirit, which sometimes can make other groups feel like they are being isolated or attacked. And we've seen the number of attacks against some groups, Muslim groups and others in India, rise over the last couple years. Modi, in fact, claims that he campaigned on a unity theme and bringing everybody together. Let's hold hands together, he said. Let's walk all together. We'll see if he can pull that off in the next 5 years.
And watching his campaign this cycle, and you look at the Trump campaign as they're gearing up for 2020, are there any takeaways that the Trump administration can walk away with from India's election about how Modi approached his campaign?
Well, they're both very good, Rena, at social media and tweeting.
That's for sure.
Neither one of them particularly like a press conference. They both like to go directly to the voter and directly to the people and not be asked a lot of questions. I think you'll see Mr. Trump continue to do that, both in office and while he's campaigning for re-election. I think with Mr. Trump, he doesn't like to build unity toward that 50 or 51%. He likes to disrupt and divide. and make the other candidate look bad and vote against him in order to get to the 50%. So I think that's the way Trump will try to run things in the next year and a half as he gets ready to run for re-election. But I think for U.S.-India relations, Rena, this is a very important time for us to have the two countries sit down and talk about not letting the economy and trade issues prevent us from getting into the more important strategic and geopolitical issues that unite the United States and India. As I said before, we're both increasingly worried about an aggressive China in the area and around the world. We both have common interests in fighting terrorism. We both have common interests in improving our education systems and healthcare systems. We both have common interests in bringing peace to Afghanistan. The commonalities go on and on and on. And I think the Trump administration, one, should congratulate Mr. Modi. Two, should invite him to visit the United States right away to have this strategic talk. And three, Mr. Trump should go and visit India. He turned them down before. And Mr. Modi invited him, as you know, to the most important event in India, the Republic Day, and he kind of cavalierly dismissed it.
I want to thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Former U.S. Ambassador to India, Ambassador Tim Romer. Thank you, Tim, for joining us.
Thank you, Rena.